Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to really wherever our whims take us. Colors. Colors everywhere. We're looking at Spider-Woman issue 1. At the time of this recording, there was a new #1 released recently, and they had her classic iconic costume as one of the covers, and looking at it, I just remembered how much I enjoy it. It's a look for me. So I thought, let's go back to when she got it, because she didn't always have this costume. Not exactly anyway. She almost did, but not quite. We've talked a bit about Spider-Woman before, namely why she was created, which was to beat DC to the copyright and trademark punch. We also talked about how that kind of led to her hitting the ground running when it came to her backstory and motivations. She had an origin that was retconned literally right after her first appearance. Her first appearance was also reportedly supposed to be her only appearance, but then she sold better than expected. And well, who doesn't like cash money? So they decided to keep her going. So she would be given a 4-issue arc in Marvel 2-in-1 and then graduate to her own series. A series that would suffer from changes in writer and tone, with some writers like Marv Wolfman even admitting that they weren't exactly sure what to do with her or how to write her. Despite this, she managed to garner a fan base. So we're going to take a look at Spider-Woman issue #1 from 1978. Not to meet Jessica Drew, but to meet her fantastic hair. You'll see, and then it'll all make sense. Also, do not worry if you are a Jessica Drew novice, because this comic is going to catch you up. Multiple times. You could do a quiz after you read this. The cover has a great tagline that's really aggressive and right up my alley. To know her is to fear her. This comic is threatening me. That's like a supervillain tagline. I'm here for it. All the claims on this cover are going hard. Now, in her own book, the superheroine sensation they said couldn't be done. Were people saying it couldn't be done? I don't know. Maybe. How many? Egads, man. A Spider-Woman? It can't be done. Make it happen. We need that copyright. Ah, the nebulous they. Great for blaming everything on. Whose fault is it? Theirs. Special origin. All the world against her. Like, are you hype yet? Because if not, I mean, this cover tried its hardest. It's a cool cover shot too. Her being shot at from all sides with her iconic costume on full display with her hair out. This was a thing. Before this, her hair was not out. In fact, that was not even her hair color. So that added to the intrigue of, ooh la la, who is this? Okay, so Jessica Drew is living in London at this point, so get ready for my dodgy British accent for some of these supporting characters. An accent that makes my real British friends wonder why they talk to me. She doesn't have one though, so you don't have to listen to it the entire time. Don't worry. Is this what I've become? A thief? A scavenger? Heaven help me, I'm reduced to stealing food to live. Is this my curse? For becoming the Spider-Woman? The era where we still put the in front of everything. The Batman, the Spider-Woman, the formality. Jessica Drew has not been settling into life since she escaped Hydra and their control. In fact, she can't even get a job, hence why she's here at the supermarket thinking about stealing some soup, because that's the aisle she's in. Just straight to the soups. She also says she hasn't eaten in days, just like a spider. Which actually, yes, fun fact, a house spider can go for 4 to 8 weeks without eating because of the food reserves in its sac and body. No, maybe my past's been destroyed, but I won't ruin my future as well. Also, this is tomato soup, and I only accept chicken soup. Her dramatic soup can throwing attracts the Night Guard. A Night Guard who decides that it's nothing, and even if it was, he's too old to take the risk. The comic actually gives a whole panel to his "I'm too old for this, too old for anything" angst. It's maudlin, has nothing to do with anything, but I'm telling you about it because it stood out to me, because why? Jessica continues to rage in the supermarket, now kicking over a whole display of innocent soups. I'm finally free, so why is everything going wrong for me? Shock of shocks, kicking over a huge large display of loud cans draws people's attention to the fact that you're in a store after it's closed. And so she's approached by a British officer from Scotland Yard who talks like he's from America anyway. Well, actually our man here is from S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was originally stationed in LA, but he's getting a British accent no matter what. I didn't take anything. I didn't do anything. That's not answering the question, lady. Lady? I can't even say lady in a British accent. Laddie. Lady? And I'm sure anyone as gorgeous as you must have a ready answer for this, don't you? What does that even mean? What's the tone of that? Is that bitter? Is it flirting? Pick a tone, mystery man with Reed Richards hair. I'm gonna assume bitter. I'm sure a woman as gorgeous as you must have a ready answer for this, don't you? Bitter. She attacks him, and of course he retaliates, and in the scuffle they knock over even more cans. These poor employees. But in the midst of all of this, he manages to unmask her. He thinks she's so hot that it literally stops his brain for a second. He can't even move, and so she escapes. That face, that beautiful face, I know I've seen it before, but where? Aside from in my dreams. Calm down. Get out more. You don't need to be this thirsty. You can take a drink from this store. There's so much havoc, I'm sure they won't even notice. Take a soup. The next day we're treated to the fact that no one really likes Jessica. She puts people off. She has a bit of a Belle walking down the street, the Disney version of like, ugh, what's going on with that? Their nose stuck in a book. Only instead of that it's, we don't like her and she freaks us out. All of this is happening without her doing anything, by the way. She's just walking past. This would eventually be revealed to be because she was exuding a pheromone that made people slightly afraid of her. Except for grocery store cop, adrenaline junkie that he is. A beautiful face. For now, she thinks it's because growing up with the High Evolutionary's new men has made her lack social cues. Don't worry, this comic is about to fill you in because that night she dreams about her origin. Her father, it just so happens, was friends with the High Evolutionary before he became the High Evolutionary. So just at the tip of his mad scientist spiral. The rationale behind their team up is so good. I love it. You study evolution. I study arachnids. In a way, our sciences are related. Arthropods lived before man. They'll continue to thrive long after we've gone. They've survived the Ice Age, radiation, pollution. If we could somehow infuse man with the special properties of spiders, then man could adapt, could evolve into a being capable of living in tomorrow's world of overpollution and radiation. Man could survive the total gamut of our technological devastation. Ah, so Jessica's father also has mad scientist tendencies. It's nice of her mom to be so supportive. I'm sure that she's heard that speech many times before. The spiders. Ah yes, we're both visionaries in a nearsighted world. Ah, their friendship is sweet. Also yes, the High Evolutionary is British. I'm not just doing that. Fun fact, the High Evolutionary was inspired by the work of Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. Also British, but never voiced that way, but he's been alive for a long time. Maybe he adopted a different accent after he moved. I love his 90s animated TV series voice. I love all the voices for that. Campy accents all the way. So the group find a valley where they can continue their studies undisturbed by all those other judgmental scientists and, well, people in general. They also happen to find a spot that has uranium. Huzzah! And so they use it to become rich, which somehow attracts no attention to them or this valley, so they can keep using it. This is where they build Wundagore, the future base of operations for the High Evolutionary. Shock of shocks, playing outside on a radiated hill is bad for a small child, and she gets radiation poisoning. How could a scientist studying ways to deal with radiation have foreseen this? How? It's beyond the grasp of science. The High Evolutionary, at this point still just Herbert Wyndham, places her in cryogenic stasis. But there's nothing more than that he can do. But her father goes full mad scientist. It's time to test that serum out on her, his spider serum. If you survive, my serums may one day save the world. But his serums need a month to incubate, and they don't have that kind of time, which means that they need to use Herbert's genetic accelerator to make everything go faster. All of this is so upsetting to Jessica's mom that she dies in one panel of plot convenience-itis. Actually, it's off panel. It's just 1 minute she's there complaining like, how could you do this to our daughter? Next panel, she's dead. This would be elaborated on later on, expanded and retconned to her being killed by a werewolf. And then her dad just vanishes. It just says, mysteriously, Jonathan Drew vanished. Okay. During this time period, he manages to go full mad scientist. You know, as you do, left alone without checks and balances. Jessica wakes up at this point, and we've recapped up to where she joined Hydra, or was recruited by Hydra and brainwashed by them. But she'll talk about that too. She was recruited and brainwashed by Hydra, and she escaped. The visions, they're over, and once again show me for what I am. Neither human nor spider. I'd definitely say more human than spider, but that's just me. Continue on. I may look and feel human, but I've the blood of a spider coursing through my veins. The interesting thing here is she kind of looks back on her time with the High Evolutionary with not too much horror. She even refers to Wundagore as home a couple of times. And she's kind of sad that she couldn't get along with the rest of the new men. Just makes her feel even more left out now that she can't get along with regular humans either. But she's determined. She's gonna make it on her own. She's gonna have a life as Jessica Drew. So she goes out job hunting again. But she's spotted spotted by grocery store cop extraordinaire, and he just wants to tell her that she's right, she wasn't stealing, and also that he loves her or something. So she nearly kills him by throwing a lamppost at him and actually has to push him out of the way and save him, and then he smashes his head against a brick wall. Early Jessica had to curb her killing instinct a lot because she had been trained to kill and she had the strength and skill set to do it. So she usually has to lower the amount of force that she's using. Jessica realizes that she has to do something. He's seen her face, and if he asks around, people in the neighborhood don't like her, so they're gonna say where she lives. She needs a magic movie makeover where you change one thing and suddenly you are a different person. So since he's seen her face, she dyes her hair jet black and decides to change up her mask while she's at it. And thus her dark locks are born. Okay, so as someone who has had literally every hair color imaginable, it does not change your overall appearance. Like not the core appearance. You're still you, just with different colored hair. It is the rare person who is completely transformed. It happens for a few people, but it's not the norm. You don't just vanish when you have a hair transformation. We can't all be Clark Kent. I'm a superhero. Also, that blonde hair. What was I thinking? 2015 was a year. Now with her new fabulous look, Jessica takes it to the streets and sees two criminals engaged in a firefight. And of course, it's with none other than grocery store cop. He gets shot by a laser and we finally learn his name. It's Jerry. Hi, Jerry. This prompts Jessica to jump in, and so we get a demonstration of her power set. She's immune to the laser blasts because of her father's serum, which allows her to nullify radiation, which counts on the simulated radiation of the gun. Go with it. She also demonstrates her venom blasts, at the time an ability unique to her. But she has to be careful because she can kill really easily with these, just with one blast, so she's got to tone it down. Also, she likes Jerry, I guess? Cause I don't know why I'm getting involved with this, but when I saw him fall, something inside me went haywire. She can tell that he's dying and she doesn't want his death on her hands, even though it wouldn't be because she didn't shoot him. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Just let all that misplaced guilt and responsibility go on her. It's a spider thing. So she gets him to the hospital, but she has to knock out some cops as well as the criminals to do it. Not building a great rep. Also, apparently when she got there, she forced the doctors to give him a blood transfusion with her blood, and she said that would save him. I guess they were just like, okay, we'll listen to you, lady in a costume, just burst in yelling, take my blood, put it in him. He's dying of a mysterious laser blast. Do you want Spider Cop? Because this is how you get Spider Cop. Also, now they're linked by blood. Romantic? Would be in a vampire story. She saved me. She fought those thieves from me. She gave me her blood. Clarence, don't ask me to explain it. I can't. Certainly not rationally, but without knowing anything about that woman, I want her. And you know what's worse? I don't know if it's to stop her or to love her, whoever she is. I want Spider-Woman. That's great, Jerry. You're off the case. Or at least that's what would happen if conflict of interest or a clear clouding of judgment ever mattered in procedures and fictional stories. As a first issue, this is okay. It's good that it clears up and restates her origin because it's already changed twice at this point, so now we're at the one that we're sticking with. For now. The change was because they felt that her being injected with a spider serum played better than her being a spider who was transformed into a human. However, they keep the level of pathos as if she was a spider transformed to a human with the whole am I a human or a spider angle, which doesn't play quite as well because she looks human and doesn't really have any physical spider attributes. And since we have other heroes in the Marvel Universe who are animal themed and don't feel that way, it's a bit harder to get behind. At least that element of it. They bring this up a lot this issue too, way more than I did in my read through. It's constant to the point where it gets repetitious. However, what does work is her insecurity and her trying to figure out who she is, especially given the fact that she hasn't really had that option. She's gone from being under the control of the High Evolutionary to being under the control of Hydra. Now she's alone and free for the first time and she's just trying to figure it out. She doesn't even know who Jessica Drew is. That's a much more compelling angle than am I a spider or a human? Her personality comes across firmly, which is good. However, did anything about this scream magic to you? Because that's where we're going. She's gonna fight a whole bunch of magical villains. She's gonna face the supernatural, which is fine, but it definitely wasn't the vibe I got from this first issue. The establishment of her look cannot be overstated. The bright costume, the great hair, she sticks in your head. A good look goes a long way in helping a character get noticed. It also makes artists want to work on them, which makes a difference. Characters have died because artists or writers don't have fun working with them, like Cypher, Poor Cypher. But you can already see some of the problems that are brewing. She feels a bit directionless. This isn't her first appearance, but we don't establish a lot. Who is she going to fight? Why? Why does she fight? So her mom just died, her dad just left. Instead of coming across as mysteries, these kind of feel a bit more like loose ends. They're clear indications in retrospect, which of course is how it's read now, that something is being made as it goes along. Also, that attraction to Jerry. Kinda weird and unnecessary. A random grocery store vigilante. Tale as old as time. But despite all of this, Jessica is interesting. Her powers are interesting and she feels different. Definitely she feels different from Spider-Man. She doesn't feel derivative of Spider-Man, except for the name, which I mean, get that copyright. In no way does she feel as derivative as, say, Silk, who was literally bitten by the same spider he was. She has a different origin. Her origin is also interesting in how it ties her to a major villain, and then villain group. It sets her up with a different mindset and set of values. You want to know more about Jessica and what she's going to do, even if the story around that is kinda muddled. She shines through, which is why even though sales weren't crazy, this comic managed to last until issue 50, where they unceremoniously killed her off. Yeah, in her last issue. That did not play well, as you can imagine. Happy 50th issue! She's dead. R.I.P. This run would be plagued by changes in writers, tone, motivation. It's an experience. I kind of love a hot mess though. It's like how I like Farscape. Every season's different. People are like, it has no focus. And I'm like, you say that like it's a bad thing. It is, but I love it. I stuck with Jessica, but I also understand why people fell off. This comic could get baffling at times. And the pacing. What are we doing? But that's just my opinion. What did you think of Spider-Woman #1? What did you think of her hair? I love her hair. So did this issue make you want more, or were you bored? Do you like Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman in general, or do you find her derivative? Let me know down below. And while you're down there, please of course do all of the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and thanks so much for watching Casually Comics. I really appreciate it, and this was a lot of fun. I don't know why, but I want the Spider-Woman. Just what are you doing? I'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.